The Light That Burns, Chapter 2. What the hell? My vision slowly returned and see Nicky sleeping on my chest. I picked him up as I sat up. My hands, as I looked at it, had a burn mark where it had made contact with the lever. Ouch. So what happened? As Nicky woke up, he meowed at me and wanted cuddles. Not now. Sorry, we need to find out what happened. And as I looked at my watch, the time was frozen at 4:35 p.m. That's odd. The battery and watch were brand new. It was tapped a few times, but that did nothing. And as I looked, my washer and dryer were burnt out, seemingly having been overwhelmed by the electricity. And the lights were all off, so after a bit of fumbling around in the dim light, the stairs were found. And after tripping once, I found my footing and walked up to the kitchen. It was a mess, and the TV was flickering with being on or off. And the toaster on my counter had entirely blown up. Bits of metal were sticking into the wall, ceiling, and floorboards. Holy crap, what the hell? My writing computer was glitching out and eventually, after a few seconds, powered off. The same with my TV. And as I reached for my phone, which was inside the brown leather couch cushions, it had just melted into the leather. And then I noticed how quiet everything was. It was almost like all of my technology was off and dead. And my fridge was open and the bulb was shattered onto all my food, and it too was dead. And as I glimpsed out of the window, I saw orange blurs in the raging snowstorm. My glasses were put on, but I still couldn't tell what was causing the orange glow, but the house was starting to get cold. How does a fire sound? Nicky, what do you think? He looked at me and meowed. Okay, it was time to start a fire in my fireplace. After finding a comfortable and warm jacket, a blanket was gotten from my bedroom for Nicky. He was made into a little kitty burrito to conserve his heat. Some newspaper was taken and rolled into a bundle, and after 7 little newspaper wraps were under the metal grate, then the logs and twigs were put onto the grate, and a match was taken and both ends of the newspaper were lit, and after a few minutes the fire was raging and nice and warm. The storm was still raging outside, and the silence of the fire was broken only by the crackle of the fire or the wind, and a breath of relief was taken, and the fire was starting to warm the house up. Knock, knock. I jumped out of my skin for a second and immediately rushed to grab my shotgun from above the fireplace. And I looked through the door, and it was a man I didn't recognize, but he was burnt and his clothes were fused to his skin. The door was open and the man collapsed sideways into the snow. Take this key and find Ray. Also, try and stop Nathan's. My house is the last one up the hill. He held a key out to me and looked to be a modernized skeleton key. Then his body went limp into the snow and he was dead. What?